Many climbers think of free soloing as the only way to experience the solitude and self-reliance of a big rock adventure alone. But rope soloing offers another avenue for autonomy. Much like trad climbing adds a mental layer of complexity, lead rope soloing makes the whole experience feel a bit more out there. Golden Dog on Fay Buttress in Sedona is a technical 513A multi-pitch. I've been saving this one for an Onsight attempt for a few years since moving to the state, but recently I thought I'd up the ante and try for it in my beloved solo style. Just finished the very sweaty hike. Gonna have to do a little wardrobe change here, but the wall is just now coming into the shade. Up here at Golden Dog, it is a 5-pitch route, 2 12s, a 13A, some rambling. There's my heavy pack full of the lead rope solo kit. I just hiked in from a little Sedona parking lot down that way. While starting up a pitch, I set up my 2-bolt inline anchor with a bungee draw for a bit of a soft catch. The trailing loops for my clove hitch system may look like a bit of a nightmare, but they're really not as noticeable as they look. I stopped for a moment atop pitch 1, but I didn't actually refix the line here. I just restacked a few cloves, and then continued on. When lead rope soloing, it's nice to link pitches like this to reduce the transition between leading, rappelling, and following yourself. Pitch 2 and pitch 3 are both 12A on the topo, but they are endurance crimping and are really not too bad with good footwork. After climbing the first 2 pitches, it's time to wrap all the way to the ground to clean the draws and grab the rest of my gear. And when lead rope soloing on a multi-pitch route, you get to follow your own pitches, which is either jugging, save some energy, or TR solo if you're looking for mileage. Check out these sculpted holds. The second 12A pitch has a few reachy moves between small crimps at this bulge. You can see that on steeper pitches, my clove hitch cash loops hang nicely in space, not dragging and tangling like they did on pitch 1. Starting up the 13A Crux pitch, I had no previous knowledge about the moves above. The wind also picked up, adding to the exposure of being a few hundred feet up the steep cliff. The difficulty started early on this pitch with a high left toe on this tiny little spike. With full commitment onto my big toe, I mantled 2 bad crimps on the slab ramp and reached high to a better edge. Of course, no rope solo ascent is complete without a little bit of faffing. Here my heel got tangled with one of the loops of rope, but it's all about keeping your composure and solving the problem. Onsighting a hard-to-read technical pitch like this one can be comically slow. I spent 30 minutes on this lead, relying on my stiff shoes to camp out on small footholds while assessing hold options above for the next few moves. This move up the slabby arete was incredibly off balance. The foothold was good, but not in line with the side pull on the arete. It was difficult to not tip over left and fall off the perch. I used inner thigh strength to pose with my left toe on a nothing smear, holding tension with just my legs as I stood up to better handholds. Leaving this foot perch, it seemed like I could lay back the arete or wiggle up the corner itself. After touching all the subtle holes, I decided the corner option would be the most secure. The left hand is a very small chip, creating a finger bar against the corner itself, and then a mantle motion on a good but low right hand allowed a hand-foot match, then standing tall to the best hold yet. middle bulge ended up being the most committing of the difficulties, with little chance of reversing these moves after standing up into the stem. The stem is against two opposing ramps, giving a wide position with no actual holds. You have to rely on pure opposition to inch higher. Once stemmed high enough, a layback hold is reached, but it is still very off balance to pull around the arete to a more stable slab stance with a decent rest foot. Another committing sequence loomed above me here as I stood on my toes a little longer. The changing corners created a leaning layback feature, but the only left feet were slippery smears. A good right flat hold seemed like it'd be a useful squeezer to set feet high into the layback, and a right rand smear in the corner helped stabilize. From this position, full body tension against the bad foot allowed a right hand cross to a good edge. This pitch is fully bolted, but the movement is right out of a tech traditional corner. I don't think placing gear would have even added to the difficulties since there were so many stances, but the corner seam is just not big enough to take any protection. The entire route, in fact, is basically fully bolted, only requiring a cam or two on the final pitch. The difficulties began to ease here when bigger holds showed up as the wall steepened. I was getting pumped from climbing so slowly, so it still required full focus. The wind was also raging, causing my cash loops to flip around, adding a bit of mental load while trying to stay composed. At each of these rests, I spent multiple minutes assessing all options above and deciding what was most secure. At this point, I was a bit nervous to not slip off these good but slopey holds, thinking I surely had made it through the Crux already. As a full-time rock climber, I spend most of my days climbing outside on real rock. I've been slow to capture frequent media in the modern manner, but have recently tagged a camera along on special days with a cool objective. I'm glad I added in the extra effort this day, as this became an ascent that I'm proud of. I'm hoping to put out content that my younger self was fiending for. A young climber stuck in a Midwestern office, dreaming of trad climbs and getting up off the ground on a multi-pitch. Lead rope soloing is a very arbitrary challenge, but perhaps is no more arbitrary than red pointing, or even bothering with a lead on a route that one has already top roped clean. We are all playing our own games in this pursuit, and I love the autonomy of being up alone on a wall, climbing on my own terms in my own style. Even the mess of ropes fluttering in the wind adds to my experience, as I enjoy dialing in systems to make this all safe, and problem solving on the fly. And once again, I get to rappel and then jug the pitch I just led. With my skinny 8.9mm lead cord, I refix to a few draws on the way down, isolating the rope bounce and edge wear to shorter segments. Following my Onsight lead of the 13 egg pitch. Jump down that rock. So cool. Up above the Crux pitch. About to clean the last pitch. A little summit ramble. The summit. That was a pretty radical adventure for just a day at the local multi-pitch cliff. Got all my stuff to the top, and now it's time to go find the rappels. But that was fun. All done for the day. Back to the sidewalk. One last look at the route. You can just kind of see the diagonal gray corner up there. Good times.